Chapter 657. Everyone here was part of the cultivator's circle and knew a thing or two about how this worked. Pills had to be made one by one. Was this man trying to be funny, making all 10 at once? Even Colt Finnegan, Eliam's master, would not do something like that. Just then, Eliam let out a loud peal of laughter. The guy doesn't even know the basics. He's all talk. What a joke. The crowd laughed along. Leonard turned away, wanting nothing more than wanting for the ground to open up and swallow him. Wilbur held out his arms, and two separate spiritual flames appeared beneath the cauldron. He's at the ambience level. Everyone looked at Wilbur in disbelief, not daring to believe their eyes. No wonder this man could talk like that. The chairman, Bruce, is a prime ambience level cultivator himself. Leonard stared at Wilbur in shock, and so did Keelan. Eliam and the rest exchanged glances, their expressions turning even colder. Amon and the rest of the Elder Four exchanged glances of shock with each other. No one had expected the ordinary-looking man Leonard brought along with him to be an ambience-level cultivator. Just then, all the ingredients were brewing up storm in the cauldron. A thick cloud of fog rose, blocking the cauldron from everyone else's sight. Wilbur controlled the spiritual flames calmly, all while splitting his spirit energy into 10 parts, each controlling the brewing and condensing of one pill. At its core, pill making was the process of extracting the essence of all the ingredients needed, melting them down, and condensing them together once again. Then, the medicinal powers of the pill would be locked in it, following the pill formula before it was cleansed of any remaining impurities using spirit flames. The final cleansing stage was the most important one to determine how the pills would turn out, and this required high level of precision and control from the alchemist. With how powerful Wilbur's spirit energy was and his expertise in controlling his spiritual energy, making an easy pill like this was practically child's play. Many cultivators did not know this, but spirit energy was the foundation of one's powers. Within a few minutes, the smoke coming out of the cauldron was so thick that it enveloped Wilbur as well, and no one else could see him anymore. The crowd's amusement had turned to shock. Even if Wilbur could not make them, his power as an ambience cultivator was already impressive enough to leave everyone in disbelief. Only Eliam, Amon, and the rest had looks on their faces, their gazes turning into more and more murderous with each passing moment. Wilbur might be an ambience-level cultivator, but that did not scare them. He is probably a beginner at most. While Eliam and John were mid-level, the chairman was a peak ambience cultivator who would definitely be able to control Wilbur even if the pills turned out successful. After all, the news of the fleece flower being faked could not get out. The thought made the three men let out a sneer as they waited for Wilbur's pill to finish. He was a dead man either way. Just then, the smoke covering Wilbur was sucked back into the cauldron all at once before disappearing completely, and Wilbur appeared within the crowd's line of sight once again. The room was dead silent then. Everyone wanted to know if this man had succeeded or not. The results of this were extremely dire. Wilbur glanced over at the cauldron, shaking his head with furrowed brows as he was disappointed. "How are those pills, young man?" Bruce asked with a grin. Wilbur took out one of the pills from the cauldron. He peered at it closely and gave it a whiff, before frowning. "I've finished them, but they're defective." Chapter 658. The crowd seemed to heave a sigh of relief at this, as if they had expected this to happen. There would be nothing special about alchemy if anyone could master it just like that. Eliam stood up. "Are you saying that you failed at pill making then?" Everyone looked at Wilbur, waiting for him to speak up. Eliam's wrath would be unleashed on Wilbur the second he admitted he had failed. There was no way the chairman was going to let this shameless young man go either, not until he drew his last breath. Amon and the others were practically on the edge of their seats. They would have rushed over if they were not wary of Wilbur's ambience-level power. This man was out to ruin their plan, and there was no way he was getting out of there alive. Just as everyone was waiting for Wilbur to speak up, he said, "They might be defective, but they're far better than the shit your master made." He tossed a pill he was holding back into the cauldron after that. According to his Dragon Soul's memories, There were supposed to be some runes on the pills after they were completed to improve their overall quality and shelf life. His dragon cell memories deemed any pill without runes on them useless. A truly brilliant pill might even have a small formation formed by the runes to protect it. Such pills could not be consumed without the permission of the pill maker, and consuming them by force would cause the pills to explode. Although the spiritual pills that Wilbur had made were considered defective to his dragon cell, they were miles ahead of the garbage that Eliam's master had made. Wilbur's powerful spirit energy and spiritual energy control had completely stripped the pills of their impurities, condensing all of the medicinal powers in their purest forms. That alone was probably something that no one in this day and age was capable of. Wilbur's words shocked everyone else. Was he telling the truth? Eliam was furious, marching up to the cauldron and snatching up one of the spiritual pills in it. He refused to believe that Wilbur knew a thing about alchemy. Eliam had dedicated his life to alchemy but was still incapable of producing a complete spiritual pill. How could this young man have done it? Yet just as he took a closer look at Wilbur's spiritual pill, Eliam's expression froze before turning into one of shock. Bruce, Amon, and the others were looking at the spiritual pill in Eliam's hand as well. The other people in the room crowded over, wanting to take a look for themselves. The spiritual pill Eliam was holding was yellow in color. It emitted a faint glow and a tantalizing fragrance that lingered, filling one with comfort at the slightest whiff. Just then, the cultivators who had managed to get one of the spiritual pills made by Eliam's master took another look at their purchase. These pills were dull and did not glow, even tasting slightly bitter. It was clear they were on a different level from Wilbur's. What an embarrassment. The bidders began to regret spending all that money on Eliam's spiritual pills. $7 million was no small amount of money. They were far better off buying Wilbur's. Leonard was in shock himself, staring at the spiritual pill he had just bought. The comparison was something he could hardly believe. Catelyn clapped a hand over her mouth, unable to get a word out. She was a part of the industry as well and was more than capable of telling a good pill from a bad one. Wilbur's spiritual pill was in a league of its own compared to the one made by Eliam's master. How had he done it? The two ladies next to Leonard were dumbfounded, staring at Wilbur blankly. Bruce's expression turned stern. He strode up to Eliam, taking the pill from him and looking at it closely. Wilbur chuckled. How's that? Not bad, huh?